Should you live by that old Wall Street saying, sell in May and go away? Let's bring in John Stoltzfus, Chief Investment Strategist at Oppenheimer Asset Management. And John, this is the time of year where we always bring this up, for better or worse, because it's there as a cliche for a reason. For many years, people believed that was the best course of action. Is it the best course of action this time around?
We don't think so. In particular, if we get a trade deal, it'd be a big mistake not to be in the market when that occurs. Now, that on a day-to-day basis, we're coming down to some kind of a resolution point or a walk-away point, as we know from the news flow. So there is risk here related to that. But on the other side of it is the fundamentals are remarkably good overall. If you look at the economic data for the U.S., every negative point that might come across is offset by a significantly positive point. So progress is being made related to the sustainability of the economy.
It seems like, though, it feels like a 180, because it was 5 months ago, maybe, that we were talking about global economic slowdown. By the way, those signs are still there. I mean, the economy in Europe isn't great.
Yep.
It still shows signs of slowing.
Yep.
But why is it now that the traders and investors out there are tilting more towards the positive glass half full aspect of this?
Well, I think there are several things. If we look at the fourth quarter of last year, there was concerns about a precipitous drop in oil that occurred between October of last year to the end of December. Oil went from about $76 a barrel to 44. Expectations were that the economy might be going into a recession as a result of that, in terms of many investors. And it was proven wrong. What it was just oversupply of oil, because producers had gone from being practicing restraint on production, both OPEC and U.S., to all of a sudden on expectations that there'd be a ramp up of sanctions against Iran, that there'd be a shortage of oil, so they oversupplied. We also think there was concern that the Fed was determined to raise rates and kill the economy.
Can we sit on that? Because yeah. I've heard the case made. I've heard the case made that the fundamentals globally haven't changed all that much, but that this is strictly a Fed-induced downturn in Q4 and an upturn in Q1. Is that true?
I'd say I don't think the operative word is strictly. I think it's certainly a contribution, because the market always watches the Fed and is concerned about Fed policy, what damage it could do to the economy and to the markets. But I do believe it was other things, and it has to do with green shoots that appear around the world. I mean, just today, the news tape, while there's concern about China, if a deal doesn't come through, the ASEAN nations look like growth is significant enough to carry them through, and enough external demand. So we'd have to say we think we can grind higher here, and certainly withstand any interim volatility.
You've been a bull, and kudos to you, because you have been correct so far. What exactly, though, is the downside case? What exactly sends this whole thing, this whole bullish thesis with stocks at record highs, down?
Well, I think what could certainly provide a haircut to the market at this point is if we're just about halfway through an earnings season, and there's plenty of surprises to offset all the cuts that consensus analytics had in terms of expectations ahead of the quarter. So things are looking better. It looks like we might even be positive in earnings by the end of the quarter. But if there would be a reversal of this positive trend that we've seen from this midpoint towards the end, the other thing would be if Trump walks away from the negotiating table. But we think that there's going to be agreement, because for China, it's 2025. You don't want to get into a protracted trade war with the U.S. China has enough internal problems as it is economically, so I don't think it needs to fight with a great trading partner like the U.S. And for the U.S., it's 2020 presidential election.